Hello, if you've been gaining weight without changing your diet, if your anxiety has been getting worse for no clear reason, and if you wake up every morning feeling heavy, overwhelmed, and not quite like yourself, there's something important you need to hear, because it might not be stress, it might not be hormones, it might be your sleep, quietly affecting everything. In this video, you'll finally understand how poor sleep disrupts your hunger, inflames your anxiety, and throws your whole body into survival mode, and, more importantly, how to break that cycle gently, starting tonight. If this resonates with you, tell me where in the world you're watching from in the comments. I'd love to know. And now, you step on the scale in the morning, eyes still half closed, hoping the number will finally move, but it hasn't. Again, you wonder what you're doing wrong. You haven't changed your meals, you've even skipped dessert. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's hormones, or maybe just maybe it's what happened last night, between the sheets, behind your closed eyelids. Or rather, what didn't happen. Because poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it makes you hungrier. It makes you emotionally fragile. It makes your body hold on to fat like it's preparing for war. And the worst part, you can't even see it happening. No alarm goes off when your metabolism slows down. No red flag waves when your cortisol spikes after 3 broken hours of tossing and turning. But your body remembers. Your brain keeps score. You might think you're just a little sleep deprived, but that sleep deprivation is a biochemical earthquake, disrupting the very systems that regulate your weight, your mood, and your ability to think clearly. It starts quietly. One rough night turns into 2. You shrug it off. Maybe pour a second coffee. But under the surface, everything begins to shift. Your hunger hormones rebel, your blood sugar wobbles, your emotions stretch thin, and without warning, you're snapping at your partner, reaching for another cookie. Staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering why you feel so off. And still, you don't connect the dots. You blame your diet, your job, your willpower. But rarely do you look at the most basic, most powerful, most overlooked factor of all, your sleep, because the truth is uncomfortable. It's easier to count calories than to confront your nighttime chaos. It's easier to Google healthy snacks than to admit your bedtime is random. Your screen time is out of control, and your mind never actually winds down. But here's the part no one tells you: your sleep is your weight's secret architect. And it's your anxiety's favorite fuel. You don't binge because you're weak. You binge because your brain is inflamed from too little rest. You don't cry for no reason. You cry because your emotional circuits never got a chance to reset. You don't sabotage your progress. Your sleep-deprived body does in self-defense. But no one talks about this. No one tells you that the same night that leaves you yawning, the next morning also primes your body for fat storage and mental chaos. They'll say, just eat cleaner or try yoga, but they won't mention the neurochemical storm caused by poor sleep. They won't tell you that your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, becomes overactive when you're tired. That your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that says don't eat that second donut, becomes sluggish. And suddenly, you're no longer making decisions. You're reacting, surviving, spinning, and every morning you wake up thinking it's your fault. It's not, it's just that your sleep has been quietly sabotaging you, 1 hour at a time, and tonight, you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling again. Your body feels heavy, not from exhaustion, but from something else, something you can't quite name. The room is silent, but your mind isn't. It's loud, spinning. You keep trying to relax, but it feels impossible. And when you finally fall asleep, if you even do, it's shallow, fractured, and short. Then comes the morning. You don't bounce out of bed. You drag yourself. Everything feels a little more difficult than it should. And worst of all, when you see your reflection, or put on your clothes, you can't help but feel like you've been slipping, not just physically, mentally too. And here's the strange part. You're not doing anything wrong. You've tried to eat better. You've tried to cut back on the sugar, the snacks, the empty calories. You even tried meditating once or twice, but nothing sticks. Nothing really changes. The weight clings, the anxiety lingers. And the thought that maybe this is just how it is now, that maybe you're just off, starts to feel real. But what if the problem isn't your diet, or your discipline, or your DNA? What if the real reason your body feels inflamed and your mind feels wired is because you're not truly resting, not deeply, not consistently? What if your anxiety isn't just stress, but the echo of a brain that never had a chance to reset? And what if your cravings aren't a lack of willpower, but a hormone signal gone haywire because your sleep is broken? There's something no one tells you when you start to gain weight for no clear reason. When you feel fragile, moody, restless, they tell you to try harder, to work out, to push through. But they don't ask the one question that could change everything. How are you sleeping? Because poor sleep is more than just tiredness. It's not just yawns or dark circles or needing another coffee. It's a full-body signal that your internal systems, your metabolism, your mood regulators, your emotional stability are out of sync. And the scary thing, you can function like that for weeks, months, years, until one day you don't recognize how far you've drifted. Maybe you've noticed it already. Maybe you've felt how your patience is thinner, how your stomach feels bloated more often, how your chest tightens for no clear reason, how even small tasks feel overwhelming. You chalk it up to adulthood, burnout, modern life, but deep down, you know something's not right. Here's what I want you to know. It's not your fault. Your body isn't betraying you. Your mind isn't weak. You're just exhausted at a level that no energy drink or motivational quote can fix, and it's showing up in ways no one warned you about. Weight gain you can't explain. Anxious thoughts that come out of nowhere. Emotional reactions that feel disproportionate to the moment. These aren't character flaws. They're symptoms, and you're not alone. Thousands of people just like you, are walking around with brains that haven't truly rested in weeks. Bodies running on empty, nervous systems locked in high alert mode, and they're blaming themselves for it, for the weight, for the breakdowns, for the feeling that they're barely holding it together. But here's the truth, most people miss. Your brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It wants rhythm, predictability, stability. And your body, it listens to your brain. When your sleep is scattered, your whole system becomes confused. Hormones spike and crash. Hunger increases, cortisol rises, anxiety sneaks in, and before you know it, your entire sense of well-being starts to wobble. But there's a different way, a quieter way, a gentler way. That's what this video is here for, to show you how sleep, real, quality, consistent sleep, isn't just about feeling rested. It's about restoring the systems that keep you balanced. It's about giving your body permission to release weight instead of storing it. It's about calming the part of your brain that thinks everything is an emergency. It's about finally feeling like yourself again, not because you forced a change, but because you supported your biology. So keep watching. You're about to discover the connection no one talks about, the invisible thread between poor sleep, weight gain, and anxiety. And once you see it, you can start untangling it. You can begin to take back control, gently, without punishment, without shame, just understanding, and rest. Because what you do before bed is more powerful than any diet, more healing than any self-help book, and more transformative than any morning routine. Tonight could be the beginning of everything. You've probably heard it before, sleep is important. But the way it's usually said makes it sound like a generic health tip. Like brushing your teeth or drinking more water. Something nice to have, but not urgent, not critical, not something that could be silently changing your brain chemistry every night and rewiring your body without your permission. But it is, and it has been. Here's what they don't tell you. Sleep doesn't just restore energy, it controls everything. Your hunger, your memory, your hormones, your emotional stability, even your immune system. And when you don't get enough of it, not just quantity, but quality, your body flips a switch. It enters a survival state. And when your brain thinks you're in survival mode, it doesn't let go of anything. Not calories, not stress, not tension. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside you. When you don't sleep well, two key hormones immediately go out of balance. Leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is the one that tells your brain, I'm full. Ghrelin is the one that screams, I'm hungry. After just one night of bad sleep, ghrelin levels spike and leptin levels drop. Meaning, you feel hungrier and you stay hungry. Your satiety signal is broken. That's why sleep-deprived people eat an average of 300 more calories per day, usually carbs, sugar, and fast energy. Not because they're undisciplined, because their biology is screaming for fuel. But that's only the beginning. At the same time, your cortisol, the stress hormone, surges. Cortisol isn't just about feeling anxious, it also tells your body to store fat, especially around the belly, because when your brain senses threat, it prepares for famine. Your metabolism slows. Your insulin sensitivity drops. Your blood sugar regulation gets worse. You might not notice it immediately, but over weeks and months, the result is clear. More fat storage, less energy, higher cravings, and a body that seems stuck, no matter what you do. And then there's the anxiety. Sleep is the time your brain uses to regulate emotions. It's when your amygdala, the fear center, quiets down. When your emotional experiences are sorted, stored, and filed away. But when you don't get enough REM or deep sleep, that process is interrupted. The amygdala becomes hyperactive. Studies show that sleep-deprived people have up to 60% more emotional reactivity the next day. You cry more easily. You snap more quickly. Your tolerance drops. And the worst part, you don't always realize it's from lack of sleep. It just feels like you. This is why everything feels harder after a bad night. Decisions feel heavier. Small problems feel catastrophic. You find yourself eating things you didn't plan to, saying things you didn't mean to, feeling things that don't match the moment, and you blame yourself. But what if it wasn't you? What if it was a tired brain trying to operate at full capacity with missing pieces? Modern life pushes us to ignore this, to push through, to treat sleep as optional. But our biology hasn't evolved to keep up. Your body still treats every short night like an emergency, and the effects compound like a tax you didn't know you were being charged. A hidden cost on your peace, your weight, your joy. And there's more. Sleep also regulates your serotonin, the mood stabilizer. It manages your insulin, which handles how your body processes sugar. It detoxifies your brain, literally washing away waste, through a system called the glymphatic system, which only activates during deep sleep. Without enough time in that state, toxins build, inflammation rises, brain fog settles in, and with it comes that feeling of being off, emotionally scattered, physically heavy, mentally cluttered. So, when you wonder why you're gaining weight, when you can't figure out why you feel more anxious lately, when nothing seems to be working, maybe it's not your diet. Maybe it's not your mindset. Maybe it's not even your routine. Maybe it's your sleep. Or rather, the lack of it. And it makes sense, doesn't it? You didn't always feel like this. You remember. A version of yourself who felt clearer, lighter, more in control. But somewhere along the way, between the stress, the screens, the late nights, and the I'll catch up on sleep later mindset, something shifted, and your body never fully caught up. Your nervous system stayed in high alert, your hormones got scrambled, and every night you cut short. Every time you pushed through exhaustion, you trained your brain to survive instead of thrive. But understanding this is the first step out, because now you know. Poor sleep isn't a passive issue, it's an active disruptor, a weight you carry before you even open your eyes. And fixing it gently, consistently, may just be the key to calming your anxiety. It starts subtly. A few late nights here and there. Maybe a work deadline runs long, or you fall into a rabbit hole of reels and articles at midnight. You tell yourself you'll sleep in on the weekend, you'll catch up. No harm done. But your body doesn't see it that way. Because your body doesn't measure rest in hours on a clock. It measures it in patterns. Consistency, stability. The first cracks appear where you least expect them. A growing impatience during the day. A strange craving for something salty or sweet at 10 a.m. that you can't ignore. You chalk it up to stress or hormones. But it's not just that, it's your brain, reacting to imbalance, trying to steady itself without the support of real rest. And every night, you stay up scrolling, or eating late, or tossing in bed while your mind replays the day on loop. You send a new signal. A signal that says, we're not safe yet. Stay alert. Your body listens. Your cortisol remains elevated. Your appetite rises to keep energy available. And your emotional regulation that gets shelved until further notice. One study at the University of Chicago found that people who slept only 4 to 5 hours a night for a week had insulin sensitivity drop by over 30%. That's not just a number. That's your cells losing their ability to properly use the food you eat. That's your body storing more fat even if your meals haven't changed. That's why weight gain sneaks in without explanation and refuses to leave. But it's not just about weight. It's about control, or the loss of it. Because when you're tired, you're not the version of yourself who thinks clearly, responds gently, or remembers long-term goals. You're the version who needs relief, now, and your brain will take it however it can get it. Sugar, distraction, dopamine hits from social media, anything that numbs the exhaustion. Not because you're weak, because you're human, and your brain is doing its best with what little fuel it's been given. Think about how many decisions you make in a day. Now, imagine making those same decisions with a 10% drop in brain efficiency, a 15% increase in emotional reactivity, a 20% spike in hunger. That's not hypothetical. That's what studies have found happens after just a few nights of poor sleep. Your life doesn't fall apart in a dramatic way, it tilts, just enough for stress to creep in, for old habits to resurface, for your inner critic to grow louder. And here's where it gets even trickier. The less you sleep, the harder it becomes to sleep. Your circadian rhythm, that internal clock, relies on cues: light, darkness, timing, repetition. When you sleep at random hours, expose yourself to screens late at night, or eat too close to bedtime, that rhythm breaks. You feel sleepy during the day and wired at night. Your body loses its grip on rest mode. So what do most people do? They push through the day with caffeine. They try to force sleep with melatonin or wine. But that only masks the real issue. Your body doesn't want hacks. It wants rhythm. And when it gets it, something shifts. Hunger signals recalibrate. Mood stabilizes. Cravings reduce. And that tight grip of anxiety loosens. The truth is, your weight doesn't just live on your body, it lives in your habits, your patterns, your nervous system. And most of those are shaped directly or indirectly by how well you sleep. And no one tells you this. No one tells you that your inability to stick to a plan isn't because you're undisciplined. It's because your brain is tired. Your hormones are scrambled. Your emotions are running on fumes. And once you see that, you can start changing it, not overnight, not with pressure, but with softness, with You've probably been told the solution is simple: eat better. Exercise more, get your steps in, breathe deeply, meditate, drink water, and sure, all of that matters. But what if you've tried? What if you've already meal prepped and journaled, and tracked every gram? And still, your body won't cooperate. The scale doesn't budge. The fog doesn't lift. The anxiety still whispers. That's when the doubt creeps in. Maybe you're just broken. Maybe you're lazy. Maybe this is just how it is now. But here's the twist: you're not broken, you're just exhausted. And your exhaustion isn't obvious, it's sneaky. It shows up not as yawns or naps, but as cravings, weight gain, brain fog, mood swings, and emotional outbursts. It disguises itself as lack of motivation, as falling off the wagon, as just not feeling like yourself. And it all starts at night, in the dark, in the quiet, when no one is watching. And your habits begin whispering louder than your intentions. Because here's the truth: no one told you. You don't binge because you lack willpower. You binge because your brain is running on empty. You don't feel anxious because you're too sensitive. You feel anxious because your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, is overfiring due to sleep deprivation. You don't gain weight because you're doing everything wrong. You gain weight because your body is stuck in a state of survival. This isn't a personality problem. It's a physiological pattern. And once you understand that, everything shifts. Imagine this: every night, your brain is meant to run a cleanup crew. It resets your emotional circuits, balances your hormones, detoxifies waste, and sends signals to your metabolism, telling it how to behave the next day. But when your sleep is short, shallow, or scattered, that cleanup crew never shows up. The mess stays. The hormones get confused. The anxiety doesn't have anywhere to go, so it builds. And yet you wake up and try to carry on like everything's fine. Like your brain isn't inflamed. Like your hunger hormones aren't screaming for relief. Like your nervous system isn't clenched into fight or flight. But deep down, you feel it. You know something's off. And you keep pushing, keep performing, keep pretending until you can't. So what if you stopped pretending? What if just for a moment you believed that your body is actually trying to help you? That the weight gain, the cravings, the anxiety are all signals, not signs of failure, but signs of fatigue. Because when you really see that, something lets go, you stop fighting yourself, you stop blaming your mind, you stop punishing your body for responding exactly the way it's designed to under stress. And in that stillness, a door opens. A door to a different kind of healing. Not one built on restriction or punishment, but on restoration. Not about doing more, but about allowing more space to rest. Not about controlling every meal, but about honoring the one system that regulates them all. Your sleep, it sounds simple, and it is. But it's also powerful, because when you begin to protect your sleep, like you protect your diet, your body listens. When you give it consistency, the same bedtime, the same wake time, your metabolism steadies. When you reduce blue light at night, your melatonin rises. When you give yourself 7 to 8 hours of real, quality sleep, your hunger cues soften. Your emotional reactivity drops, and your clarity returns. You don't need to hack your brain, you need to hold it gently, consistently, in a rhythm that makes it feel safe again. And the moment you do, the extra weight, the tension, the chaos in your chest, it all begins to fade. Not because you forced it, but because your body finally has permission to let it go. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to become a sleep guru or redesign your entire life. What your body needs is something much simpler and far more powerful. Consistency, predictability, a signal that says, you're safe now, you can rest. It starts before the night even begins. Your sleep isn't just shaped at bedtime, it's built over the course of your entire day. What time you wake up, when you eat, how much light you're exposed to, whether your mind has a moment to pause, or if it's constantly racing from one dopamine spike to the next. All of it matters. But for now, just pick one thread. Start with something small, and pull the first shift. Choose a sleep window, a 90-minute range, and stick to it. Even on weekends, especially on weekends. If you usually fall asleep sometime between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., shrink that window. Aim for 11:30 p.m. at the latest. Set a consistent wake-up time too, even if it feels hard. Your circadian rhythm thrives on rhythm. And when it gets that rhythm, your body stops bracing for chaos. Next, look at your evenings. What's the final hour of your day like? Be honest. Are you watching fast-paced shows with flashing lights? Scrolling TikTok with headphones in and notifications still on? Checking emails that spike your stress hormones right before bed? Your brain notices. Even if your eyes are tired, your nervous system stays wired. Try this. For one night, cut all screens an hour before bed. Replace them with something that doesn't glow. A book, a hot shower, a slow stretch, even dim lighting and silence. You'll feel the difference within minutes. Your heart rate lowers, your thoughts slow. Your body begins to unwind naturally. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting it. Now, let's talk food. Late-night snacks aren't evil, but they come with a cost. Eating too close to bedtime, especially sugar, carbs, or heavy fats, keeps your digestion working when it should be resting. It raises your body temperature, spikes blood sugar, and can disrupt your sleep cycles. If you're truly hungry, eat something light, protein-based, and easy to digest at least 90 minutes before you plan to sleep. But ask yourself first, are you hungry? Or are you tired and trying to soothe that feeling with food? You already know the answer. Let's also address your morning. How you wake matters just as much as how you sleep. Don't hit snooze. That's not rest, it's confusion. Your brain starts a new sleep cycle every time you drift back, and then gets jolted awake again. It leaves you groggy, irritable, and emotionally off balance for hours. Instead, set your alarm for the time you intend to get up, and get out of bed within a few minutes. Open a window, get sunlight in your eyes. Move your body, even if it's just for 5 minutes. These tiny cues anchor your biological clock, and make it easier to fall asleep at night. And finally, track how you feel, not just how many hours you sleep. Notice the days when your energy feels steady, your mood lighter, your cravings softer. What did the night before look like? What did you do differently? Sleep isn't just about hitting a number. It's about creating the conditions that let your brain do its most important work, healing you, balancing you, restoring your sense of self. You don't need to chase perfection. You just need to build a pattern. One that tells your brain, this is when we rest, and this is when we rise. And, yes, it might feel unnatural at first. Your body might resist. Your mind might argue, but keep going. Give yourself 3 days, then 5, then a full week, and watch as your anxiety begins to soften, your cravings begin to ease. The number on the scale may shift slowly, gently, but more than that, you'll feel the shift internally. You'll wake up and not dread the day. You'll notice you're not reaching for food to comfort your nerves. You'll feel just a little more in control, and not because you forced anything, but because your sleep finally started working with you, not against you. Start tonight, 1 hour earlier, one light dimmed. One decision to stop scrolling and start softening. Because real transformation doesn't happen in a rush, it happens in rhythm. Somewhere along the way, we started treating sleep like a luxury, a reward, an afterthought. Something we squeeze in after everything else is done. We pride ourselves on surviving on less, pushing through fatigue, ignoring the signals. We normalize feeling drained. We joke about running on caffeine. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But your body never found that funny, because while you were busy keeping up with work, with people, with life, your sleep was quietly slipping away. Not in a dramatic way, not all at once, just bit by bit, a later night here, a restless thought there, a week of poor sleep disguised as just stress. And now, your body doesn't feel like your own. Your moods feel unstable. Your hunger unpredictable. Your mind cluttered. And you wonder how you got here. The answer, of course, isn't simple. Life is complicated. Stress is real. But somewhere beneath all of it, a basic truth remains. Your body cannot function without rest. Not truly, not deeply, not for long. And the consequences don't always show up as sleepiness. They show up as weight gain, as anxiety, as mental fog and emotional fragility. But this isn't about blame. It's about awareness, because now, you see the pattern. Now, you understand why things have felt so hard, even when you've been trying. Why the results didn't come. Why your reactions felt disproportionate. Why everything felt a little heavier than it should. You were never weak. You were just depleted, and now you have a choice. Not to overhaul your life, not to chase a perfect version of yourself, but to begin, slowly, gently returning to rhythm, to the natural cycle your body has always craved. Light and dark, wake and rest. Effort and softness. Because when your brain knows what to expect, it stops bracing, it stops fighting, it begins to repair, and that's when the shifts begin. Not with force, but with flow. Your hunger starts making sense. Your cravings quiet down. The tension in your chest loosens, and slowly, you begin to remember what it feels like to feel steady, calm, clear. Not because you changed who you are, but because you finally gave yourself what you needed most. Rest, not just the kind that happens with your eyes closed, but the kind that happens when your nervous system feels safe. When your mind knows it can let go. When your body trusts it won't be pushed past its limits again. And when that kind of rest becomes your new baseline, the weight begins to lift, inside and out. The truth is, your body was never working against you. It was just trying to protect you, in the only way it knew how, by holding on, by slowing down, by signaling, in the form of weight, in the form of anxiety, that something was missing. And now, you know what it was? You don't need to chase the next diet, or force your way through another exhausting day. You just need to rest consistently, gently, and with intention. Because when your sleep returns, so does your balance. If this helped you see your body in a new way, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is a quiet space for tired minds, and your journey is just beginning. Let me know in the comments if this resonates with your story, or if sleep has been silently shaping your days too. You're not alone in this, and now you know where to begin.